deals with family civil issues.
Yes, but we don't go to these sort of issues where it's only human rights legislation
Right.
or human rights matters. That's where we get involved. This is also a what do you call
It's a human rights issue, yeah.
not human rights actually, as I say, abuse, domestic abuse, I would say.
Sure. Now, you said earlier before the show started that you deal with people that might not be here legally. So for our viewers that are watching us today, if there is a man or a woman that's suffering domestic abuse who's not in this country legally, now they would think for themselves they don't have anywhere to go. Can they contact your organization? Would you be able to guide them?
Yes, we can. We actually are a campaigning organization, but we do not look at what nationals they are. If they are British or any other nationals, we take the details, we'll guide them where to go.
Right, okay.
Maybe the Kelly's organization, probably perfect one for them. So we'll say, okay, Kelly, deal with this one, and we'll be witness for that.
Right. Now, Kelly, do you, if somebody is in this country illegally, would you still offer them housing and support?
We would offer them support, but it is really hard to offer them housing because they're not entitled to any sort of benefits or anything
Now,
like
you
that.
know there are a lot of Asians
Yes.
that go home to find
Yeah.
their partner and bring them back, and they might not necessarily have any paperwork to be here. Where do they go?
They don't go anywhere, to be honest, because a lot of people think that there's not any help out for them. But again, that also turns when a woman's been in this country for like 5 years and she's on a visa. Before it becomes permanent, the husband has, been abusing her, giving her, domestic and all that, and hasn't been sending the paperwork back to the Home Office. Then all of a sudden then she's getting a paper saying that you're no longer allowed to be in this country because you haven't responded to any of the letters, and she's got 3 or 4 children.
So what
Happens is it's classed as no resource to public funds, you see. So what happens is she can't get any help from the government at all because she has no rights to be in this country. But there are solicitors that will help them to say, to do it under the domestic violence. So they can do them for that, you see. But for housing and that, it's an appeal that you have to go through.
There are organizations who actually can help.
Yeah, there are organisations. So if they do come here and they think there's no help, there is help. It's under an organisation called NAS that helps them.
Okay. So this is the point that I wanted to make, because I know that a lot of times a woman or a man that's suffering abuse might not be from this country. Perhaps English is not their first language, and they might feel like they just need to suffer in silence. But that's not the case. They can write to saveyourrights.org, and you can give them some guidance. If they come to through Care Housing and Support, you can offer them some advice as well.
Well, I have to add a little bit on that. We cannot guarantee give them a lot of support. We try our best because we are a web organization.
But can you give them advice?
Yes, we can give them advice, and we can get other organizations involved to help them. We try our best, but there is no guarantee because there is legal things as well.
Right.
If they are illegal here and we, legally by law they have to be deported and the stuff.
That's the thing. This is why I think a lot of men and women who are not here legally and are being abused physically, mentally, emotionally, they might not come out. They don't want to get deported.
But I think that every case is a different scenario, so they do look at that. So if you've got children, I don't think there is no help out there for you at all.
I want to come back to the point about children really quickly. Maybe I'll get to your point in a second. Kelly, you said that you have children. How have your children suffered because of your experience?
Well, I've kept it very hidden from my children because my children are really young. But only a few weeks ago, my daughter's turned around to me and said, "Mom, I love you so much. So what I'm going to say to you, don't think my love's going to change for you." And, straight away you think that, oh, she's saying this to get a toy or something. Then out of the blue she goes, "Mom, are you adopted?" And I go, what makes you think I'm adopted? She goes, "Because my dad's side of the family really hates you. And, and they don't show you that respect. And,
wow.
No one hardly talks to you from your side of the family. So is it because you're adopted and you've got no real mom and dad?"
Now, I asked you this while we were in break, that did you have counseling? Did you have any kind of help from like a psychiatrist to help you deal with what you've been through?
No, because I've got a dear friend of mine. I spoke to him and he actually says to me, "You've done nothing wrong at all." But all those years, I'm in my late 30s now,
Sure.
so it's taken me up to about 35 years of age to realise that I've done nothing wrong at all, because society, and especially being married for 20 odd years, have always made me feel as though I'm the outsider, I've done something wrong, because even it's a cultural thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You're an Asian woman, you are seen but not heard. You do as you say.
Sure.
You don't say anything. If you speak out, that's why you can't keep a man. That's why nobody likes you. So that's drilled into you at such a young age,
Yeah.
and you think, it's got to be me because I speak my mind out and I say it as it is, and it's not right, and I'm too Western.
Well,
So,
Maymunal, you were talking
Yes,
about forced marriages.
Yes, what I wanted to add that it doesn't stop anyone to coming to us that, oh, I will be deported. It's not like that. We have to look to the case, and we won't be disclosing the details to anyone else.
So it's completely confidential.
It's completely confidential, and unless we look at if he's, we cannot say what we can do. So, for example, if it's a forced marriage and human rights been violated, that we can get.
How would you know? We've covered this in an earlier show, but when we say forced marriage, it's emotional blackmail is considered forced marriage, right?
Yes.
So if your mom and dad have pressured you into a marriage that you are not completely happy with, that's still forced marriage.
Yes.
And then they can come to you with that
they
kind
can
of.
come to us. Yes. No
And is
problem.
that the majority of the people that come to you? Is that the kind of forced?
Yeah, well, if you look at the forced marriages, very few of them you will find actually was really pressured physically.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are emotionally and by the family.
But that takes into account maybe 95% of Asian marriages. There's always that little bit of pressure.
Not really. If you really agree to get married, if you really know your partner, or if you have a chance to talk to him or her, then you know.
basically, both partners have to agree with what that they want to get into this marriage. If one doesn't agree, then yes, it can be classed as a forced marriage. Again, every case is a bit different. So what you do is you talk, but what we also do is if somebody else is aware of somebody trying to get into a forced marriage, we help them as well, and we'll also do mediation with the family as well, because sometimes that's what and you know people want is just mediation where you can go to the family and say, look, they don't want to get married.
Now, it's the work that you do is quite interesting, because you said you go to houses and you'll mediate, and oftentimes you'll have to tell the in-laws or the husband or the parents that your daughter is not coming home.
Yeah.
What is the reaction to something like that?
Well, obviously they're in a shock. Most of the time they're in a shock and they're in denial because they can't understand where they've gone wrong. And what you tend to find sometimes it's not the parents, it's usually the people around them, you know, like the judge, the daya, that they're the ones who are causing the problem in the family, because they turn around and say, well, if you don't do this, then look at your sister, or look at, you know, your niece. She's not going to be able to get married.
Now, this is open to both of you, Maymunal, you and Kelly. Do you think that for Asians, the definition of domestic abuse has to be altered?
Yes, I do.
You're watching Broken Silence. We're talking about domestic violence. We'll continue this conversation after this short break.